Part 5. The New Order High Chancellor Corvin was dead. His ship had exploded when Admiral Tajan rammed it. But his second-in-command, a Vryn named Keltar, floated in a disabled cruiser above Earth and felt something he had never experienced before: helplessness. Every system on the ship was dead except life support and basic communications. They had air. They had water. But they had no weapons. No engines. No shields. They were at humanity's mercy. What do we do? His tactical officer asked. Keltar didn't have an answer. They had come here to destroy Earth. They had brought overwhelming force, and somehow the humans had defeated them without firing a shot. His communication panel buzzed. Incoming message from the planet below. A human woman appeared on the screen. She looked tired and sad, but her eyes were strong. I am President Ariam of Earth, she said. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are offline. You are currently floating in our space, helpless. By all rights, I could order your deaths. You came here to commit genocide. You tried to destroy my world and murder my people. Keltar waited for the executioner's blade to fall. But I'm not going to kill you, Ariam said. We're going to restore your life support systems to full power. We're going to give you enough engine capability to return home safely, and we're going to send medical ships to help your wounded. Keltar stared at the screen in shock. Why? Because you were afraid. I understand that. We all understand it. The progenitors left warnings about their return, and you thought we were that threat. You were wrong, but I understand why you believed it. You could destroy us, Keltar said quietly. You have control of the ancient systems. You could shut down every ship, every city, every world in the galaxy. You could make yourselves gods, and we don't want to be gods. We just want to live in peace. Ariam leaned forward. The progenitors made a mistake. They controlled everything and it destroyed them. We're not going to repeat that mistake. We have power, yes, but we're going to use it to give you a choice. Work with us to build something better or go home and pretend this never happened. Either way, you're free. The communication ended. Keltar sat in his command chair for a long time. Around him, his crew waited for orders. Finally, one of them spoke. Chancellor, what do we do? We go home, Keltar said. And we tell them what happened here. We tell them that humanity had the power to destroy us and chose mercy instead. Across the disabled fleet, similar conversations were happening. The Thurians, who thought in terms of crystalline logic, couldn't understand why humans would spare their enemies. The Pelasians, who valued honor above all, felt ashamed that they had misjudged humanity so badly. The Korath, beings of pure energy, discussed among themselves whether mercy was a strength or a weakness. Over the next week, Earth's engineers worked with the disabled fleet. They restored engines. They repaired life support systems. They even provided fuel and supplies for the long journey home. Captain Suyuk led the repair efforts. He had survived the battle and now found himself working alongside the same Vryn engineers who had tried to kill him days before. Why are you helping us? A Vryn named Takla asked. We tried to destroy your world, Suyuk shrugged. Because if we don't, you'll drift here forever. That's not justice. That's just cruelty. But we were ready to show you no mercy. I know, but maybe that's the difference between us. You fight the way you were taught. We fight to survive, and now that the fighting is over, we'd rather make friends than corpses. Takla was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, will you teach us? Teach you what? How to think like you. How to adapt. How to see possibilities instead of just following rules. Takla clicked his mandibles nervously. We were uplifted by the progenitors. They gave us everything. Technology, culture, purpose. But they never taught us how to think for ourselves. You humans learned that on your own. Maybe you could teach us, Suhyuk smiled. Maybe, but it's going to take time. And you're going to have to be patient with us. We don't always have the right answers either. On Mars, Yuna and Suman were working on something new. They had access to all the progenitor installations now. Millions of years of accumulated knowledge. Technology that could reshape the galaxy. We need to be careful with this, Suman said. If we just hand out ancient technology to everyone, it could cause more problems than it solves. Agreed. But we can't keep it all to ourselves either. That would make us the same as the progenitors. Yuna pulled up a display showing the entire galactic network. What if we made it a library? Open to everyone. Any species could come and learn. But they'd have to do the work themselves. No shortcuts. No free gifts. A university, Suman said. The Institute of Ancient Studies, exactly. We provide the knowledge. They provide the effort. The Institute opened 6 months later. It was built on a neutral world, halfway between human space and the Council territories. Representatives from every species came to study. They learned side by side, sharing knowledge that their ancestors had kept secret for millions of years. Dr. Suman became the Institute's first director. She taught xenoarchaeology to a classroom full of different species. It was strange at first. Vryn and Thurians and Pelasians all sitting together, asking questions, working on projects. But slowly, it started to feel normal. The Galactic Council officially dissolved itself 1 year after the war. In its place, they formed the Concordance. Every species had an equal vote. Decisions were made by consensus, not by the decree of elder races. Ambassador Jiwan became the first speaker of the Concordance. She stood in the new assembly hall, looking at representatives from 100 worlds, and felt hope for the first time in years. "We've been given a second chance," she said in her opening speech. "The progenitors made mistakes. We've made mistakes. But we're still here. We're still alive. And we have the opportunity to build something better, a galaxy where no one species rules, where everyone has a voice, where we solve problems together instead of fighting over them." The assembly voted unanimously to adopt the new charter. For the first time in 3 million years, the galaxy would be run by cooperation instead of hierarchy. Commander Deho didn't stay on Earth. He took command of a new ship, the Unity, and its crew included members from 5 different species. His first officer was a Thurian named Giara. His chief engineer was still Minho. His science officer was a Pelasian named Sula. They were given a mission to explore the unknown regions of the galaxy. Not as conquerors or colonizers, but as students, learning, growing, building bridges between worlds. "It's strange," Giara said one day. They were standing on the bridge watching a new star system appear on their screens. "Before the war, I believed humans were dangerous, that you would destroy us all. Now I serve under a human captain. I trust you with my life." "What changed?" Deho asked. "You showed us what you truly are. Not weapons. Not tyrants. Just people who refuse to give up, who choose hope over fear." Giara's crystalline body chimed softly. "You reminded us that we have a choice too." On Earth, President Orium stepped down after her term ended. She had served her world through its darkest hour. Now it was time for someone else to lead. Before she left office, she visited the memorial that had been built for Admiral Taijin and all the others who died in the battle. Their names were carved into black stone. Thousands of them. "We did it," she said quietly. "We survived. We built something new. I hope you would be proud." The wind blew through the memorial garden. Somewhere above, ships from a dozen worlds passed by, traveling through the solar system on their way to new discoveries. 3 years after the war, the first warning came. The Concordance received a message from a probe at the galactic edge. It had detected something unusual, something that didn't match any known signature. Commander Deho and his crew were sent to investigate. They jumped to the coordinates and found themselves looking at a massive fleet, ships that dwarfed anything the progenitors had built. Dark, angular, wrong somehow. "Are those progenitor ships?" Sula asked. "No," Minho said, studying the readings. "They're older, much older. The progenitors weren't the first civilization in this galaxy. They were just the first ones we knew about." A communication request came through. The translator struggled to process it. When it finally worked, a voice came through the speakers. It sounded like ice cracking. "Young species, you have awakened the sleeping systems. You have drawn our attention. We are the harvesters. We have waited 4 billion years for this galaxy to mature. Now we have returned to collect what we planted." The channel closed. The fleet began moving towards civilized space. On Earth, President Arium's successor called an emergency session of the Concordance. Representatives from every world gathered. "The progenitors warned us," Speaker Jiwan said. "They weren't the beginning. They were a middle chapter. And now the next chapter has arrived." A Vryn representative stood. "What do? We do what we've always done," Jiwan said. "We face it together. Human, Vryn, Thurian, Pelasian, Korath, all of us. The progenitors failed because they tried to control everything alone. We won't make that mistake." Across the galaxy, fleets began to gather, not separate fleets from separate species, but one unified force. Humans served alongside Vryn. Thurians worked with Pelasians. They had spent 3 years learning to trust each other, learning to work together. Now they would find out if it was enough. Part 4. Desperation and Revelation. The fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. 2,000 ships from every species in the galaxy. The Vryn brought their heavy cruisers. The Thurians brought their energy platforms. The Pelasians brought their stealth destroyers. Even the peaceful Korath had sent their warforms, beings of pure energy wrapped in containment fields. Admiral Tajan watched them come and knew he was looking at the end of everything. "How many ships do we have ready?" he asked. 70 ships, Hana replied. She had been promoted after the Battle of Neptune. "We lost 18 in the first battle. We couldn't replace them in time. 70 against 2,000. The mathematics were even worse than before. Has the president responded to our request?" Tajan asked. "She says we fight. We hold the line as long as we can." Tajan nodded slowly. He had known that would be her answer. Ariam wasn't the type to surrender. Neither was he. "All ships form up around Earth. We make our stand here." The human fleet moved into position. They formed a sphere around their homeworld, every ship pointing outward. Behind them, Earth turned peacefully in space. Billions of people down there, not knowing that this might be their last day. The Council fleet advanced slowly. They weren't rushing this time. They had learned from their mistake at Neptune. This time they came in perfect formation, shields up, weapons ready. High Chancellor Corvin stood on the bridge of the Vryn flagship Judgment. Around him, representatives from every species watched the tactical displays. They had all agreed. Humanity was too dangerous to exist. The activation of the progenitor network proved it. Humans had to be eliminated before they became unstoppable. "Open a channel," Corvin ordered. Admiral Tajan's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm, almost peaceful. "This is your final chance," Corvin said. "Surrender now. Hand over your government. Hand over anyone who touched the ancient systems. If you do this, we will allow the rest of your species to live as supervised primitives. You will lose your technology, your ships, your freedom, but you will live." "No," Tajan said simply. "Then you choose extinction. We choose to stand. That's what humans do. We face impossible odds. We fight even when we know we'll lose. Because surrender means becoming something we're not, and we'd rather die free than live on our knees." Corvin made a disgusted sound. "You are children playing with forces you don't understand." The progenitors left warnings. They said their return would bring judgment. Don't you see? You are that judgment. You are the weapon they left behind. We cannot allow you to destroy us. We're not a weapon, Tajan said. We're just people trying to survive. Then you will fail. The channel closed. Corvin looked at his fleet commanders. Begin the assault. I want overwhelming firepower. I want every human ship destroyed. And when we're done, we bombard the planet, leave no cities standing, no infrastructure. Set them back to the Stone Age where they belong. The Council fleet opened fire. 2,000 ships launched their weapons at once. Energy beams, missiles, plasma bolts. The sky lit up with death. The human fleet fired back, but it was like throwing stones at an avalanche. Within minutes, 10 human ships were gone, then 15, then 20. On Earth, people looked up and saw their sky burning. The ships dying up there were crewed by their sons and daughters, their mothers and fathers. Everyone had someone in the fleet. Tajan watched his ships die one by one. He had known this would happen, but knowing didn't make it easier. Admiral, we've lost 30 ships, Hana reported. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. We can't hold them. Then we don't hold them. We make them pay for every meter. Tajan opened a channel to all remaining ships. All vessels Pattern Omega, we're going in. Pattern Omega was a suicide run. Every ship would charge directly at the enemy fleet, firing everything they had. They wouldn't survive, but they would buy Earth a few more hours. Sir, we can't, Hana said. If we abandon Earth's orbit, they'll have a clear shot at the planet. They're going to get that shot anyway. At least this way we take some of them with us. The Indomitable turned toward the enemy fleet and accelerated. Behind it, the remaining 40 human ships followed. They flew in a tight formation, protecting each other as best they could. They cut through the Council's outer line like a spear, destroying ships as they went. The Council fleet tried to surround them. Tajan dodged, weaved, used every trick he knew. But there were too many. The Indomitable took hit after hit. Hull breaches appeared. Systems failed. Admiral, we've lost main power, the engineering officer reported. Backup systems are failing. We have maybe 2 minutes. Then we use those 2 minutes. Taejin looked at the screen. The Council flagship was ahead, protected by a wall of lesser ships. Set collision course. Full speed. Sir, that's suicide. I'm aware. The Indomitable turned one last time and headed straight for the flagship. Corvin saw it coming and tried to move, but he was too slow. The human ship crashed into the Judgment at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of white fire. On Earth, President Ariam watched from her bunker. She saw the Indomitable die. She saw Taejin die. She had known him for 15 years. He had been a good man, a good friend. Now he was gone, and the enemy fleet was still coming. How long until they're in position to fire on the surface? She asked. 30 minutes, Yuna said quietly. Then we have 30 minutes to decide what to do. President, the progenitor systems are fully active. We have access to them. Suman says we could shut down every ship in the Council fleet. We could destroy them all. Ariam looked at the woman. What do you mean, shut them down? The ancient installations control everything. Power shields, life support. Every ship in the galaxy uses technology derived from progenitor designs. If we command it, the systems will recognize our authority. We could make every Council ship go dead in space. And then what? They drift helplessly until they die, or until they surrender. Ariam stood and walked to the wall screen. It showed Earth from orbit. Beautiful blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It was the most precious thing in the universe, and she had the power to destroy everyone who threatened it. If we do this, she said slowly, we become exactly what they fear. We become the Ancient Ones returned. We become tyrants. We become survivors, Yuna said. President, they're about to kill billions of our people. We have the right to defend ourselves. At what cost? Ariam turned to face her. If we shut down their ships, they'll suffocate in the void. Millions of them. The Vryn, the Thurians, the Pelasians, all of them. Dead because they were afraid of us. Is that the galaxy we want to create? One built on fear and mass murder? It's better than being extinct. Ariam closed her eyes. She thought about Taejin. She thought about all the people in the fleet who had died today. They had sacrificed everything to protect Earth. And now she had to decide if their sacrifice meant anything. On Mars, Dr. Suman was reading the last messages from the progenitor network. She had spent days translating them, understanding them. Now she finally knew the truth. President, I need to tell you something, she said over the communication link. I found the final message. The one the progenitors left for us. What does it say? It says they made us different on purpose. They uplifted the other species because they wanted children. They wanted followers. But they realized too late that children never grow up if you do everything for them. So they tried something new. They found a primitive species on a small planet and left them alone. No interference. No guidance. Just the potential to become something great. And that was us? That was us. They watched humanity develop from a distance. They saw us fight our wars, build our civilizations, reach for the stars, and they hoped we would be different from them. Better than them? Why? Suman's voice broke slightly. Because the progenitors became monsters. They had all the power in the galaxy, and power corrupted them. They controlled everything. Every species, every world, and in the end, they hated themselves for it. They transcended physical form not because they were enlightened, but because they couldn't bear to look at what they had become. They left us this message, and do not repeat our mistakes. You have the power now. Use it to create something we never could. A galaxy built on choice, not control. Ariam felt tears running down her face. The weight of 3 million years was pressing down on her. The progenitors had given humanity this power, this responsibility, and now she had to choose what to do with it. The enemy fleet was 15 minutes away from firing position. Can we shut down their weapons without killing them? Ariam asked. Yes, Yuna said. We can disable their offensive systems but leave life support intact. Then do it. Shut down their weapons. Stop the bombardment. But don't kill them. President, they'll hate us for this. They'll spend the rest of time trying to destroy us. Maybe. Or maybe they'll finally understand that we're not their enemies. That we never were. Ariam straightened her shoulders. Give the order. Protect Earth, but show mercy. The command went out across the galaxy. Every progenitor installation received it. And 3 million-year-old technology responded instantly. Across the Council fleet, weapon systems failed. Shields dropped. Engines went offline. 2,000 ships suddenly became 2,000 floating boxes. Part 3. The war begins. Admiral Taijin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched 300 alien warships drop out of faster-than-light travel. They appeared all at once, filling the space near Neptune's orbit with the green glow of their engines. The Vryn Collective had come to make an example of Earth. All ships battle stations, Taijin said calmly. Execute defensive pattern 7. Around him, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had drilled for this moment for months, ever since the Council's threats began. But drills were different from reality. Taijin had 75 ships under his command. The Vryn had brought 300. The mathematics were simple and brutal. They're broadcasting, the communications officer said. Let me hear it. A clicking, chittering voice filled the bridge, translated into human speech. Human vessels, you are in violation of Galactic Council law. Surrender immediately. You have 1 hour to comply. Taijin looked at the tactical display. The Vryn ships were spreading out, forming an envelope around the human fleet. They were trying to surround Earth's defenders, cut off any escape routes. It was a standard tactic. Overwhelming force, quick victory, minimal losses. They didn't understand humans at all. Open a channel, Taijin ordered. When the light turned green, he spoke clearly. This is Admiral Taijin of Earth Defense Command. You are in human space without permission. You have 1 minute to turn around. If you do not, we will consider this an act of war. The Vryn commander laughed. It sounded like metal grinding against stone. You have 75 primitive ships. We have 300 vessels from the greatest fleet in the galaxy. Do you truly believe you can win? I believe you're about to find out. Taijin cut the channel. Then he looked at his tactical officer, a woman named Hana's sister, also named Hana. It was a common name on Earth. Send the signal, he said. Hana pressed a button. Across the human fleet, every ship received the same message. 2 words. Go loud. For 200 years, humanity had been studying galactic warfare. They watched how the elder races fought. The Vryn used mass and numbers. The Thurians used long-range energy weapons. The Pelasians used stealth and ambush tactics. The Korath used raw power. Every species had a style. Every species was predictable. Humans didn't have a style. They had something better. They had desperation and creativity. The Vryn fleet began its advance. They came forward in a steady line, their formation perfect. They expected the humans to either run or form a defensive position. They expected a proper battle. Instead, every human ship scattered. What are they doing? The Vryn commander demanded. His tactical officer had no answer. The human fleet had broken apart into dozens of small groups. Some were heading for Neptune. Others were diving toward the sun. A few were accelerating straight up out of the orbital plane. This is chaos, the Vryn commander said. They have no discipline, no formation. Destroy them. The Vryn fleet broke formation to chase the scattered human ships. It was a mistake. Captain Suyak commanded a destroyer called Defiant. He had 11 ships in his group, and they were heading directly toward Neptune at maximum speed. Behind them, 30 Vryn cruisers followed. They're taking the bait, his first officer said. Good. How long until we reach the gravity well? 2 minutes, Suyuk watched the countdown. The Vryn ships were faster, but not by much. They would catch up right where he wanted them. Neptune filled the view screen. The massive blue planet had the strongest magnetic field in the solar system. Humanity had spent decades studying how to use that field as a weapon. Today they would find out if their theories worked. Deploy the drones, Suhyuk ordered. From the belly of every human ship, small drones dropped out. There were hundreds of them, each one carrying a powerful electromagnet. They spread out across Neptune's northern pole, forming a grid. The Vryn ships entered the gravity well at full speed. They were confident. They had superior numbers and firepower. But they had never fought near a planet with this kind of magnetic field. Activate, Suhyuk said. The drones turned on. All at once, they amplified Neptune's magnetic field by a factor of 10. The invisible force slammed into the Vryn ships like a physical wall. Their shields flickered. Their guidance systems went haywire. Ships collided with each other. Energy weapons discharged randomly. All ships, weapons free, Suhyuk ordered. The human fleet turned and fired. Railguns, missiles, lasers. Everything they had. The Vryn ships, their systems scrambled. couldn't coordinate a defense. In the space of 3 minutes, 15 of them exploded. 10 more were crippled. The remaining Vryn ships tried to retreat, but the magnetic field had disrupted their faster-than-light drives. They were trapped. Again, Suyuk said. The human fleet made another pass. This time 20 more Vryn ships died. Across the solar system, similar battles were happening. Human ships used the sun's corona to hide from sensors. They used asteroid fields for cover. They flew through Saturn's rings where the ice particles scrambled enemy targeting. The elder races had superior technology, but they had forgotten how to improvise. They had been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Humans had been fighting each other for their entire history. They knew every dirty trick, every ambush, every way to turn a disadvantage into a weapon. After 6 hours, the Vryn fleet retreated. They had lost 120 ships. The humans had lost 18. On Earth, President Ariam watched the battle reports come in. She wanted to feel relieved, but she knew this was only the beginning. The council will respond, Una said. She stood beside the president's desk, her face grave. They'll send more ships. All the species will unite against us. How long do we have? Ariam asked. 2 weeks. Maybe 3. They'll need time to coordinate. But when they come back, it won't be 300 ships. It will be thousands. Taijin's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but alive. We won the battle, President. But we can't win the war. Not like this. We need another option. Ariam looked at Una. The progenitor systems. Can we use them? Maybe. Suman and Deho have been studying the data. They think the ancient installations are trying to communicate with us. Not with humanity specifically, but with whoever carries certain genetic markers. And we have those markers? Some of us do. It's subtle. The progenitors didn't engineer us like they did the other species. They did something different. They gave us the ability to understand their technology, to use it without training. Can we activate the installations? Ariam asked. Activate them? Yes, control them? Una shook her head. That's a different question. But we're running out of time. If we don't do something, the Council will bring enough ships to overwhelm us. They'll destroy Earth. Ariam made her decision. Begin Operation Inheritor. Send teams to every progenitor site we can reach. We'll activate the ancient systems ourselves. President, we don't know what will happen. I know. But doing nothing guarantees we lose. At least this way we have a chance. Over the next week, human teams infiltrated ancient installations across the galaxy. Commander Deho led one team. Lieutenant Hana led another. Dr. Suman went to a third site. They worked in secret, avoiding council patrols. At each installation, they found the same thing. Control rooms filled with technology 3 million years old, and symbols on the walls written in languages that humans could somehow read. It's like the systems recognize us, Suman reported. The moment I touched the control panel, it responded. It showed me options, commands, like it was waiting for someone like me. Can you activate the full network? Ariam asked. I think so. But there's a message encoded in the system. It keeps appearing every time I access a new section. What does it say? Suman's voice was quiet. It says, to our inheritors, you have proven yourselves worthy. The galaxy is yours to guide if you choose acceptance over domination. The galaxy is ours? Ariam felt a chill. What does that mean? I think it means the progenitors built all of this for us. Not for the species they uplifted. For humanity. For a species that could develop on its own. They wanted to see if we would be different from them. And if we're not different, then the ancient systems will remain dormant. Or worse, I don't know, President. But the Council is coming. We need to make a choice. Ariam looked at the faces on her screen. Taijin, Una, Suman. All of them waiting for her decision. Activate the network, she said. Send the message to every progenitor installation. Let the galaxy see what humanity has become. The activation took 12 hours. At sites across the galaxy, human teams uploaded the same command sequence. One by one, the ancient installations came fully online. Power surged through systems that had slept for 3 million years, and then every installation began broadcasting the same message in every known language. The Galactic Council received the message on their homeworlds. They heard it in their capitals, in their temples, in their military headquarters. The inheritors have been found. The test is complete. All systems are now under their administration. In the council chamber, High Chancellor Corvin read the message 3 times. Then he looked at his advisors. Assemble the fleet, he said. Every ship. Every species. We end this now. 2,000 warships began moving toward Earth. Part 2. The accusations Ambassador Jiwan stood in the council chamber and felt the weight of 1,000 hostile eyes upon her. The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from every species in the galaxy. Today it was packed. The air itself felt dangerous. She was the only human in the room. The council recognizes the human ambassador, the Vryn High Chancellor said. His name was Corvin and he looked like a giant mantis made of black armor. His voice came through a translator, but Jiwan could hear the anger underneath the mechanical words. "Thank you, High Chancellor," Jiwan said calmly. She had practiced this moment 100 times. Earth wants to cooperate fully with the Council's investigation. Cooperate? A Thurian representative rose from its seat. The Thurians were crystalline beings, and when they spoke, their whole body chimed like broken glass. Your ship violated forbidden space. Your crew activated technology that has been dormant for 3 million years. And now, ancient installations across the galaxy are awakening. You call this cooperation? Jiwan kept her voice steady. It was an accident. We didn't know what we would find. We didn't know that touching the controls would trigger anything. An accident. Corvin's mandibles clicked together. How convenient. Tell me, Ambassador, why was a human ship in forbidden space at all? We were conducting a scientific survey. You were spying, a Pelasian delegate said. The water breathers usually stayed quiet during council meetings, but today everyone wanted to speak. You were looking for progenitor technology, just like you've been doing for decades. Jiwan felt her temper rising but pushed it down. Getting angry wouldn't help. We were exploring. That's what my people do. We explore, we learn. Is that a crime now? It is when you wake up the Ancient Ones, Corvin said. The chamber erupted into chaos. Dozens of species started shouting at once. Jiwan could hear the translations coming through her earpiece, but they all said the same thing. The humans were dangerous. The humans were reckless. The humans needed to be controlled. On Earth, President Uriam watched the council session through a video feed. She sat in her office in Geneva, surrounded by advisors and military officers. Admiral Tajin stood beside her desk, his arms crossed. They're going to demand we hand over Deho and his crew, Tajin said. I know, Uriam replied. We can't do that. Those people followed orders. They didn't do anything wrong, Uriam nodded slowly. She had been president for 5 years. In that time, she had learned that doing the right thing and doing the smart thing were often 2 different choices. Right now she needed to be smart. What does intelligence say? She asked. An older woman named Yuna stepped forward. She was the head of Earth's scientific division. We've been analyzing the data that Deho sent back. The progenitor structure sent out a signal. Within minutes, similar structures across the galaxy responded. We estimate there are at least 5,000 ancient installations waking up right now. What are they doing? Uriam asked. We don't know yet. Some are just sitting there, powered up but inactive. Others are doing strange things. There's one near Vryn space that's projecting an energy beam at a dead planet. Another one near Thurian territory is building something. We can't tell what. Tajin leaned over the desk. And the council thinks we're controlling these things? They don't know what to think, Yuna said. But they're scared. And scared people make bad decisions. Back in the council chamber, Corvin was speaking again. We have examined the evidence. The facts are clear. Humanity is different from every other species in this galaxy. You were not uplifted by the progenitors. You have no genetic markers showing ancient engineering. You evolved naturally, which should be impossible. Lots of things are impossible until they happen, Jiwan said. Do not play games with me, Ambassador. Every species in this chamber was created by the progenitors. We have the genetic evidence. We have the historical records. But humans, you appear in the galaxy 200 years ago with no explanation, no parent species, no connection to the Ancient Ones. And now, the moment you touch progenitor technology, everything wakes up. You expect us to believe this is a coincidence? Jiwan felt her stomach drop. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that humanity is connected to the progenitors. Perhaps you are their descendants. Perhaps you are their servants sleeping until the time was right. Or perhaps you are the progenitors wearing new faces. The chamber went silent. Jiwan stared at Corvin in disbelief. That's insane, is it? Explain to me how else your species could exist. Explain to me why ancient technology responds to human touch when it has ignored us for millions of years. It doesn't respond to human touch. Engineer Minho barely brushed against a control panel. It could have been any species, but it wasn't any species, a Korath representative said, the energy being floated near the ceiling, glowing with internal light. It was a human, and within hours the ancient ones began to wake. The oldest texts of every species in this galaxy contain the same warning. When the progenitors return, it will be to judge those they left behind. Tell me, Ambassador, are you here to judge us? Jiwan wanted to laugh. The whole thing was ridiculous. Humanity wasn't connected to the progenitors. They were just a species that got lucky, that evolved intelligence on their own. But looking around the chamber, she could see that no one believed her. They were all terrified. On Mars at the research facility, scientist Yuna was having a breakthrough. She had been studying the progenitor symbols that Suman had recorded. Most of it was still gibberish, but there were patterns, mathematical patterns. Look at this, she told her assistant, a young man named Minho's cousin who shared the same name. The progenitor language uses base 12 mathematics. That's unusual, but not unique. But look at how they structure their equations. It's similar to something we use. What do you mean? 300 years ago, human mathematicians developed a system called quantum field notation. It's a way of describing reality at the smallest level. We thought we invented it. But according to these symbols, the progenitors use something almost identical. So we copied them? We couldn't have. We developed quantum field notation before we even left Earth, before we knew the progenitors existed. Yuna stared at the screen. Unless what? Unless we were meant to develop it. Unless the progenitors left something in human DNA after all. Not instructions, but potential. The ability to think like they did. Back at Earth, the Council's demands arrived. They were exactly what Tajan had predicted. Humanity had to surrender Commander Deho and his crew for questioning. Earth had to hand over all data collected from the progenitor site. And humanity had to allow Council inspectors to examine human genetic records, to prove they weren't connected to the Ancient Ones. President Ariam read the demands 3 times. Then she looked at Tajan. If we refuse, they'll call it an act of war, the Admiral said. And if we comply, they'll never trust us anyway. Ariam replied, they've already decided we're guilty. This isn't about finding the truth. This is about control. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of the city. Millions of people going about their lives not knowing that the entire galaxy wanted to destroy them. Send a message to the Council, Ariam said quietly. Tell them that Earth refuses their demands. Commander Deho followed our orders. We will not punish him for doing his duty. The data belongs to Earth, and our genetic records are none of their business. President, they will see this as a declaration of war. I know. Ariam turned to face him. But we've been in this galaxy for 200 years, and they've never treated us as equals. They've always seen us as primitives, as children who need to be controlled. Maybe it's time they learned that children grow up. The message was sent. Within an hour, the Galactic Council issued a response. Trade with humanity was banned. Human ships were forbidden from entering Council space, and 50 warships from the Vryn Collective began moving toward Earth's borders. Ambassador Jiwan was given 12 hours to leave the Council station. As she packed her belongings, a Palazian diplomat came to her quarters. I am sorry, the Palazian said. This is not what we wanted. Then stop it, Jiwan said. We cannot. The fear is too strong. Everyone remembers the old stories. The warnings about the progenitors' return. They believe humanity will destroy us all. We're not going to destroy anyone. We just want to be left alone. The Palazian made a sad sound. That is no longer possible. The Ancient Ones are awake, and the galaxy has decided that humanity is responsible. War's coming, Ambassador. I hope your people are ready. Jiwan looked at the alien for a long moment. Then she picked up her bag and walked out. Part 1. The Discovery Commander Deho stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers made no sense. His ship, the Horizon's Edge, had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks. They were at the edge of the galaxy, where no one was supposed to go. The Galactic Council had marked this entire region as forbidden territory 200 years ago. No one knew why. No one asked questions, but Deho was curious. He always had been. That's why Earth Command sent him out here in the first place. Commander, you need to see this. Lieutenant Hana walked onto the bridge. Her face was pale. She had been monitoring the long-range sensors for hours. Deho turned his chair toward her. What is it? There's something out there. Something big. Hana pulled up the sensor data on the main screen. It's not showing up on any of our maps. It shouldn't exist, and the image showed a massive structure. It was spherical, perfectly round, and it surrounded an entire star. Daeho had seen pictures of Dyson spheres in history books, but humanity had never built one. No species in the galaxy had. The technology was considered impossible. How big is it? Daeho asked. Big enough to fit 1,000 Earths inside it, Hana said quietly. Down in engineering, Minho was already working on the problem. He was the best engineer in the fleet, which wasn't saying much since Earth only had 75 ships. Humanity was still the new kid in the galaxy. The other species, the ones who had been traveling through space for millions of years, treated humans like children. Can we get closer? Daeho asked through the communication system. Engines are fine, Minho replied. But I don't like this, Commander. If the Council said this place is forbidden, maybe they had a good reason. Daeho understood the concern. But he had his orders. Earth wanted to know what was out here. The Council kept too many secrets. Humanity had joined the galactic community 200 years ago, and they still weren't allowed to see half the galaxy's historical records. The elder races, the ones who ran everything, said humans weren't ready. They said humans were too young, too dangerous, too unpredictable. Maybe they were right. But Daeho wasn't going to fly halfway across the galaxy just to turn around now. Take us in slowly, he ordered. Dr. Suman met him outside the bridge. She was a xenoarchaeologist, someone who studied dead civilizations. She looked excited and terrified at the same time. Do you know what this is? She asked. A very big ball around a star, Daeho said. Suman shook her head. This is a progenitor structure. It has to be. Daeho felt a chill run down his spine. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the progenitors. They were the ancient ones, the species that came before everything else. 3 million years ago, they had built an empire that covered the entire galaxy. They had uplifted dozens of primitive species, giving them intelligence, technology, and civilization. Then one day they vanished. No one knew where they went. No one knew why. Every species in the galaxy descended from the ones the progenitors had uplifted, the insect-like Vryn, the crystalline Thurians, the water-dwelling Pelasians, the energy beings called the Korath. All of them owed their existence to the ancient ones, all of them except humanity. Humans had evolved on their own. No one had uplifted them. No one had given them technology. They had built everything themselves, from the first stone tools to faster-than-light drives. When humanity finally reached the stars and met the galactic community, the elder races didn't know what to make of them. How could a species develop intelligence without help? It was supposed to be impossible. If this is really a progenitor site, Daeho said slowly, we need to be careful. They approached the sphere over the next 6 hours. As they got closer, they could see details on the surface. There were cities down there, or what used to be cities. Massive towers stretched up from the inner surface, reaching toward the star in the center. Everything looked dead. Nothing moved, no lights, no energy signatures. I'm picking up a docking port, Hana said. It looks operational. Operational? Daeho frowned. After 3 million years? The structure is generating its own gravity. Life support systems are active in some sections. I don't understand how, but this place still has power. They docked the ship carefully. Daeho, Hana, Suman, and Minho put on their environment suits and stepped through the airlock. The corridor beyond was enormous. The walls were made of a material that seemed to shift colors as they walked. Blue, then green, then gold. It was beautiful and unsettling. Air is breathable, Minho said, checking his scanner. Temperature is comfortable. This place is maintained for human-like biology. They walked for 20 minutes before they found the first chamber. It was circular, with walls covered in symbols and images. Suman immediately started recording everything. This is incredible, she whispered. These symbols match fragments we found on abandoned progenitor outposts. But here they're complete. I can actually start translating them. Daeho watched her work. He didn't understand half of what she was saying, but he could see the excitement in her eyes. This was the discovery of a lifetime. This was what every xenoarchaeologist dreamed about. Then Minho made a mistake. He was examining a control panel on the far wall when his hand brushed against a raised symbol. It glowed blue under his touch, then red. Then the entire room lit up like a star. What did you do? Hana shouted. I didn't mean to. Minho backed away from the panel. I barely touched it. The floor beneath them vibrated. Deho could hear a deep humming sound coming from everywhere at once. The walls started displaying images. Thousands of them. They showed planets, stars, coordinates. A map of the entire galaxy. It's activating, Suman said. Her voice was shaking. The whole structure is waking up. On the ship, alarms started blaring. Deho's communication device crackled to life. Commander, we're detecting a massive energy surge. It's not just coming from this structure. We're picking up similar surges from across the galaxy. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Deho's blood ran cold. Minho, can you shut it down? I don't even know what I turned on. The humming grew louder. Then all at once it stopped. The lights dimmed. The images on the walls faded. Everything went quiet. For a moment, Deho thought it was over. Then a single message appeared on every wall, written in every known language, including human languages that Earth had never shared with the galaxy. Signal sent. The inheritors have been found. Await judgment, Hana grabbed Deho's arm. We need to leave. Right now. They ran back to the ship. As they pulled away from the sphere, Deho watched the structure shrink in the distance. It was glowing now, pulsing with energy, and somewhere out there across thousands of light years, other structures were doing the same thing. They had awakened the ancient ones, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity was at the center of it all. Within 12 hours, the Galactic Council sent an emergency summons to Earth. They wanted answers. They wanted the crew of the Horizon's Edge. They wanted everything humanity knew about the progenitors, and they were willing to go to war to get it.